From islands full of nuclear waste to cities built atop radioactive uranium deposits, here are 5 of the most radioactive places on Earth. Number 5. Pripyat, Ukraine. Back in 1986, an unexpected power surge led to a partial meltdown of the reactor core at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant near the city of Pripyat, which sent massive amounts of nuclear waste and radiation spewing into the air. Between 1946 and 1958, the United States tested 67 nuclear devices in the Marshall Islands, a chain of atolls and islands in the Indian Ocean. In fact, the Marshall Islands are the most nuclear-tested nation in history, having endured more nuclear testing than anywhere else on Earth. It's a small town in the northwest of the country with a population of about 3,000 people. Well, Brazil has their own version, except it's way worse. If you want to see more videos like this, stay tuned for more updates. The Brazilian exclusion zone is an area in the northeast of the country where over 240,000 people were forcibly relocated. That's right. The Brazilian government literally forced 240,000 of their citizens to abandon their homes and never come back. Why? Well, it's because the area is one of the most radioactive places on Earth. In the late 1970s, the Brazilian government began dumping nuclear waste in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of the town of Parati. The plan was to seal the barrels containing the nuclear waste deep in the ocean, believing it would be safe from humans. But in 1985, 2 of the barrels washed ashore near the small fishing village of Gura. Soon enough, the local townspeople realized that the mysterious metal cylinders were extremely dangerous. Anyone who touched them started getting radiation burns. Animals that drank water near the barrels developed severe deformities and died. And within a few weeks, 25 people from the town of Garai had developed cancer. The Brazilian government was forced to evacuate everyone from the area. It's been 37 years since the evacuation, and the Brazilian government still has undeemed the area safe. Experts believe it might never be safe again. But what makes Oleno so strange is that it's built atop one of the largest uranium deposits on Earth. Since 1961, the people of Oleno have been mining uranium under their very feet. That's why the town is sometimes known as the Uranium Town. The uranium mine beneath Oleno contains more than 10 million tons of radioactive material. It's one of the biggest uranium mines in the entire world. While uranium is commonly associated with nuclear energy, did you know it's also used in many everyday products? That's because uranium oxide is a key ingredient in the production of ceramic glazes and dyes. You will find these glazes and dyes in everything from kitchen tiles to jewelry to even the glass windows of airplanes. If you're enjoying this video, stay tuned for more. Bikini Atoll is the most irradiated place in the Marshall Islands and one of the most irradiated places on Earth. The United States used Bikini Atoll as a testing ground for their hydrogen bomb in 1946, 1954, and 1956. Radiation levels on the islands remain extremely high. In 1977, nuclear fallout from previous tests caused a deadly coconut to appear. That's right, coconuts became radioactive and lethal after exposure to nuclear fallout. The U.S. government had to recall all the coconuts from stores across America. But perhaps even scarier than the radioactive coconuts is that someone actually tried to sue the U.S. government for all the radioactive fruit they ate growing up on the island. Said he ate hundreds of coconuts and fish loaded with radioactive isotopes, causing him to develop thyroid cancer. To date, the U.S. has spent over $1 billion cleaning up radioactive debris on the Marshall Islands. But the cleanup isn't finished yet, and won't be for another 20 years. And when it is finished, we don't know what kind of shape the islands will be in. Scientists have warned that Bikini Atoll may never be safe to live on again due to the amount of nuclear testing it endured. The nearby town of Pripyat was quickly evacuated and abandoned, and it's been stuck in a state of suspended animation ever since. That's because Mogan Bishop Island is one of the most radioactive places in the world. In the 1950s, the British began using the island to dump nuclear waste, which they carried there in barrels and dumped in the shallow waters surrounding the island. For the most part, Mogan Bishop Island seems pretty idyllic. There are beaches, tropical plants, and friendly wildlife. But that is all just a thin veil covering the incredibly dangerous secret underneath the surface. That's because the island is littered with rotting barrels of nuclear waste that have leaked into the groundwater and soil. What's worse, the barrels are old and deteriorating. Researchers say that in the coming decades, the barrels will start to leak radioactive plutonium into the seawater. And once that happens, Mogan Bishop Island will be one of the most radioactive places on Earth. It's already one of the most radioactive places on Earth. And while it's currently uninhabited, that doesn't mean it always has been. From 1956 to 1960, troops lived and worked on Mogan Bishop Island. They didn't know it at the time, but they were being exposed to massive amounts of radiation. It's believed that this radiation exposure caused several of them to develop cancer later in life. It took nearly 50 years for the Indian government to clean up Mogan Bishop Island. In recent years, they've removed thousands of barrels of nuclear waste from the island, including some that were completely corroded and leaking radiation. It'll be another 50 years before the island is clean enough to support human life again. The place looks like a ghost town, with Ferris wheels frozen mid-spin and abandoned amusement park attractions, slowly being reclaimed by nature. And while this all makes for some incredible photography and haunting scenes, it's not really safe to go there. Even today, Pripyat remains one of the most contaminated places on Earth. You can't just walk around the abandoned streets without risking your health. A 2017 survey found that some parts of the city have radiation levels 100 times higher than normal. There are hotspots of particularly high radiation right next to the abandoned Ferris wheel, as well as near the school, supermarket, and swimming pool. You only have limited time before the radiation starts to affect your health. So if you were to visit Pripyat, you'd have to make sure to keep moving or else. One of the biggest dangers in Pripyat is something called the funnel web effect. Because radiation spreads out in all directions, any objects close to the source of contamination tend to absorb and accumulate radiation. This means the water tower, trees, and other structures in Pripyat are basically giant sponges that soak up radiation. And then if anything touches those objects, they become contaminated as well. And because Pripyat has been abandoned for so long, these highly contaminated objects haven't been cleaned up yet, so anyone who wanders too close could get seriously injured. The safe zone around Pripyat extends about 2,600 square miles. That's about the size of Los Angeles. In total, the Chernobyl disaster spewed an estimated 5% of the planet's radioactive core into the environment. It was the largest nuclear accident in history, until Fukushima in 2011. According to estimates from the World Health Organization, the Chernobyl disaster caused at least 28 cases of cancer, and likely many more that went unknown or unreported. 4. The Marshall Islands. Many of the world's nuclear tests have been conducted in remote parts of the ocean, like the Marshall Islands. Number 3. Mogan Bishop Island, India. Oh, not far from the coast of India. In the Arabian Sea lies a tiny island that no human has set foot on in decades. No. 2. Alenia, Poland. Alenia is one of the strangest places in Poland. Number 1. The Brazilian exclusion zone. Do you remember us talking about Chernobyl? That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it.